but
begin with, first of all, misuse of t-test, misuse of t-test, using t-test in place of two-way ANOVA. As I was discussing in the context of one-way ANOVA, that people who do not know one-way ANOVA, they break up into several t-tests and then apply t-tests, which invite inflation of alpha error. Similar is the way with two-way ANOVA. I have seen many research theses where the researcher is not aware of two-way ANOVA, and instead researcher is converting the situation of two-way ANOVA into t-tests. For example, I will like to give an example. One researcher is comparing, say, creativity of rural male and rural female, urban male and urban female, and so on. There may be six. There are four groups: rural, urban, male, female. So there may be six pairwise comparisons. So the researcher is doing all six pairwise comparisons. Why? Because the researcher is not aware of two-way ANOVA. So that way, the researcher is not doing interactional analysis, number one, and researcher is inviting unnecessarily increase of alpha error. So this is a situation which calls for use of two-way ANOVA. So two-way ANOVA is a test which involves two independent variables and one dependent variable. So two-way ANOVA has two independent variables or factors. One-way ANOVA has one factor. Two-way ANOVA has two factors. Three-way ANOVA, three factors, and so on. Each of these factors with two or more levels. Both of these factors may have two levels. Like the example I just now gave, rural urban, male, female. So residence having two level, gender having two levels. So this is an example of 2 by 2 factorial design ANOVA. Then one outcome or dependent variable, the effect of the factor is to be seen on some variable, and that is dependent variable, and dependent variable as usual should be measured on interval scale so that we can have means, and means could be compared. So measured at least on interval scale. Then what is the advantage of this two-way ANOVA? Two-way ANOVA not only permits study of the separate effects. Separate effect means effect of the factors. There are two factors. So it permits the study of separate factors as well as joint effect of the two factors called interactional effect. So apart from the main factors, the effect of main factors, effect of residence on creativity, effect of gender on creativity, we have another new concept, which is joint effect of gender and residence on creativity. And it uses factorial design sample. Factorial design sample is a sample where two criteria for classifications are simultaneously applied. Say one is residence and other is gender. So we have some participants having a rural background, some having urban background, some male, some female. Now this is an example of 2 by 3 factorial design sample of equal cell size. The dependent variable is teaching competency. We have this grid consisting of rows and columns. Rows consist of male and female. So one variable is gender, other variable is method of teaching. Column consists of methods of teaching. There are three methods of teaching: concept map, blended learning, and modular teaching. So in essence, there are 6 independent samples. One, concept map male, concept map female, blended learning male, blended learning female, modular teaching male, modular teaching female. Each of size 20. So we call it cell size is equal, and that is 20. So there are 6 cells, 2 by 3 factorial design. 2 by 3 means 2 into 3 is 6. So we have 6 cells, yeah, 6 independent separate groups. These 6 groups, the size of each of these 6 groups is 20. Therefore, total size is 120. So overall, the sample size is 120. This is an example of 2 by 3 factorial design ANOVA. Now there can be 3 by 3 factorial design ANOVA, 3 by 4 factorial design ANOVA, depending upon the number of levels of each factor. There can be a 2 by 2 factorial design ANOVA. Now, main and interactional effect. For example, in this particular situation, what are the main effects and what is interactional effect? So effect of method of teaching is the main effect. So one independent variable is method of teaching. So one of the main effect is method of teaching. Main effect 1. Another effect is effect of gender. That is main effect 2. And effect of interaction of method of teaching and gender. This is joint effect of method of teaching and gender. This is not here, these two are not being considered separately, but jointly on teaching competency of BEd trainees. So this particular situation involves 2 factors or 2 independent variables, namely method of teaching and gender, and one another effect, interactional effect, known as interactional effect, which is joint effect of the independent variables. Now, how research objective and null hypothesis are framed in this 2-way ANOVA. So it is quite simple. Research objective is written like this: to study the effect of method of teaching, comma, gender, and their interaction on the teaching competency of BEd trainees. So in essence, the syntax of this is like this: to study the effect of. Sometimes we use influence of. In experimental study, we use word effect. But in survey, ex post facto research, we use influence. Why? Because here method of teaching is a treatment. But in those studies, it is not a treatment. To study the effect of method of teaching, this is independent variable number 1, method of teaching, and second variable gender. So first variable, comma, second variable, and their interaction. And then on and dependent variable, teaching competency of BEd trainees. Similarly, it could be in other situations to study the effect of methods of, say, increasing memory, residential background, and their interaction on the memory of, say, class 10th students. So these variables will be changing. Syntax will remain same. You replace these two main effects, method of teaching and gender, and the dependent variable, you will generate a new research objective. Now null hypothesis, corresponding null hypothesis is just replace to study with there is no significant, and rest remains same. There is no significant effect of method of teaching, gender, and their interaction on the teaching competency of BEd trainees. Now, summary table for result of two-way ANOVA. In the end, when two-way ANOVA has been conducted, the results will be summarized in the form of this table. Now, this is clear that source of variation. How many variances are there? One is among group, but there are two criteria, two different criteria, two different independent variables. One is method of teaching. So there are three groups on the basis of method of teaching. Therefore, one source of variation is method of teaching. Another source is gender. On the basis of gender, we have two groups. And then there is interaction of these two. And then residual or within group variance and total. So in the context of the example which we gave just now, we have three groups on the basis of method of teaching: blended learning, modular, concept map. So the degree of freedom is 2. Gender, 2 groups, degree of freedom is 1. Interaction is multiplication of these two. 2 into 1 is equal to 2. And total is 120 minus 1. So this is, add all these, 213, 325, and 114 added to 5 is 119. So this is 114. So we will get sum of square in respect of method of teaching, gender, method of teaching into gender, and error, and total as well. Then if you divide this sum of square with 2, we get MSS. Similarly, we get MSS for gender, MSS for interaction. And if we divide MSS for method of teaching, MSS for method of teaching by MSS error, then we get FMOT. Similarly, if you divide MSS gender by error, MSS gender, this is MSS gender. MSS gender divided by MSS error is F gender. Similarly, the third one, MSS for method of teaching, interaction of method of teaching and gender divided by error is this. So now in one-way ANOVA, we have one F to be interpreted. In two-way ANOVA, we have 3 effects. Because we have 3 effects, therefore we have 3 F values to be interpreted. F for method of teaching, F for gender, F for method of teaching into gender. And these will be interpreted as usual through significance values. There will be 3 significance values. If these significance values are greater than alpha level, then they are not significant. And if they are less than alpha level, they are significant. Now, if they are significant, if FMOT is significant, then it is to be followed up, because there are 3 groups. There are differences among 3 groups. Now, where are the differences? We have to find out by applying either plant test, contrast, or post hoc test. F gender, suppose it is not significant, then finished. No need to further follow. But if F gender is significant, then we do not require post hoc or contrast test, because there are only 2 groups. Whichever group has greater mean is better in that particular, in the context of the dependent variable, than the remaining group. Now, if method of this interactional effect is not significant, then finished. We do not need to follow up. But if it is significant, then it has to be followed up. And the follow-up strategy is through interactional graph. Now, interaction is significant means the 2 variables, the levels of method of teaching and levels of gender interact. The effect of method of teaching is not equal across genders. is different for different genders. Therefore, we have to follow up to find out which level of method of teaching mixes with which level of gender to produce better results or worse results. So this is how, in the end, we will be doing this. But now we come to the concept of interaction. As I told you, two-way, the distinctive feature of two-way ANOVA is interaction between two factors. Therefore, the crux of this or bone of this test is concept of interaction. So I will be discussing it in a bit detail. What is interaction? So take this example. As you know by now that two-way ANOVA employs factorial design sample. Now here is an example of 2x2 factorial design sample for memory. We have two factors. One is subject, your discipline. We have two kind of subjects, non-science students and science students. And we have methods of increasing treatment. Treatment includes method of increasing memory, part method and association method. Now there are 5 students assigned to each group. So 5 students assigned to part treatment and they are non-science student. 5 science background students assigned to part method. 5 non-science students assigned to association method. And 5 science students, science background students assigned to association method. So in all, part method 10 students, association method 10, non-science 10, science 10. So this is an example of 2x2 factorial design sample. Now we go to the details of this. Now we have 5 students. Let us suppose that their scores are like this. We have the 5 scores of the 5 students as 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are memory scores of 5 students, non-science subject students who are taught through part method. These are scores of science students taught through part method 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, they are non-science subject students memory scores taught through association method, and science subject 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. These are the scores of science students taught through association method. So you will have a situation like this. Now you will be able to visualize what are the main effects and what is interaction effect through this example. Now this row refers to the method. So part method, and this is association method. So you compare, if we compare these two means, the total row mean for part method and total mean for association method, then this will be effect of the method of your treatment, method of teaching or treatment. So if there is a significant difference, that difference is due to method of teaching, MOT, this particular treatment. And now come to the columns. Again, we have 8.5 and 9.5. This column means refer to the effect of subject. These refer to the effect of subject. 9.5 is the mean of science subject, irrespective of method of teaching. 8.5 is the mean of non-science subject, irrespective of the method of teaching. So this is a second independent factor. So we are interpreting the effect of science on memory, background subject, effect of method of teaching on memory, and their interaction. Now I come to the interaction. First of all, let us consider two things, and these are known as cell means and marginal means. Now this is, as I told you, this is one cell this is one cell. 2 by 2 means 4 cells. This is another cell. Second cell, third cell, and fourth cell. So we have 4 cells. Each cell has sample size 5 and each cell has mean, cell mean. The mean of this is 8. Mean of this is 9. I have taken these scores in a row so as to save me of calculating the mean. Mean of this is 9 and mean of this is 10. These are the cell means. And these are the means of the total row, full row. 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10 plus 11 divided by 10, 8.5. So this is mean of the whole row, mean of the second row, mean of first column, mean of second column. So let us see how this table of means looks like. The table of means, table of cell means for memory looks like this. Non-science 8, science 9, row mean 8.5. Association method 9, 10, 9.5. Column 8.5, 9.5. Right now, what do we see from this? This means, let us see what does it mean. This means that science students, whether treated through part method or association method, appear slightly better on memory than non-science students. See, science method students, the mean is 9.5. Non-science method, the mean is 8.5. So science method students are better, slightly better than non-science student, okay, irrespective of the method. Means here also science students are better than non-science students. Here also science students are better than non-science students. So in science students have performed better than non-science students, whether they belong to association method or part method. Similarly, association method looks slightly better than part method on memory, whether the students are from science subject or non-science subject. So association method is better than 9.5, is slightly better than 8.5, and this 10 is better than 9, and 9 is better than 8. So association method overall also is better, and for each science as well as non-science is also better. Thus, the effect of method on memory is not different for different levels of the subject. So if association method is better than part method, it is for both science and non-science. If science is better than non-science, it is for both method of teaching, association as well as this. Therefore, there is no interaction. Thus, that is, there seems to be no mixing of the factor or no interaction. The parallel lines in the interaction graph indicates the absence of interaction. Now I will show you how to draw a graph of this. Generally, we draw a graph only when interaction is there. Here, there is no interaction. We need not draw the graph, but this is for the sake of clarity or for sake of explaining you the meaning of interaction. I am drawing a graph from, and you will obtain a graph. SPSS will draw a graph for you, and you must understand how graph is drawn. See, this is the table of cell means. From this, we will draw graph for interaction. So how do we go about? Let us see. I take pen in my hand. Now this pen is with me. And as you know, in graph, there are two axes. One axis is y-axis, other axis is x-axis. On x-axis, we take one of the variable. Let us take method. Part method and association method. This is part method and this point represents association method. Now I don't have graph, but let me have a line, graph, grid line as we have in a graph. So this point is bit here, this is P and A. This one is A. Now on this y-axis we have scores 5, 10, 15. This is mean score, mean score. In this y-axis we have the mean score. On x-axis we represent method of teaching, part and association. Now on part method we have two means. For part method we have two means, one for science students and another for part method. We have mean of 9 non-science student 8 and mean of science student 9. So we will represent this on the part method line. Non-science mean is 8. Mean of non-science. Now this is 10. So 8 is something somewhere here. So 8. This is mean of non-science. Mean of non-science. Now, mean of science on the same line, mean of science. Mean of science is 9. So we represent mean of science by a different kind of point. Let us see mean of science. So this is mean of non-science students 8. This is mean of science students 9. Now come to another, that is mean of association method. So they were 9 and 10. 9 and 10. 9 for non-science, 10 for, so 9 will be here. And non-science is represented like this, non-science, and science is 10. So this is 10. So we have represented 4 means. This is part method non-science. This is part method science. This is association method non-science. This is association method science. Now we join these two lines. Science, science, and non-science, non-science. Science, science, non-science, non-science. So we get graph like this. This line represents science students and this line represents non-science students. Okay, now from this graph, it is clear that science students are slightly better than non-science students because the position of this line, both the means are above the non-science students. And association method is better than part method. Why? Because for both the groups, association method mean is greater. Association method for non-science is this one. Association method for science is this one, which is greater than non-science. As this is the mean for science association method, and this is for part method. So now science students, whether treated through part method or association method appears slightly better on memory than non-science student. You can see from here, science students are better than non-science students. Similarly, association method are students are better than the part method or memory, whether the students are from science or non-science. Therefore, there is no interaction. And these parallel lines show parallel line means there is no interaction. So the graph will tell you whether there is an interaction or not. This is the graph which has been drawn with the help of SPSS. That I tried to draw myself to make you understand how graph is drawn. Now this is graph for interaction of treatment and gender on weight loss. Okay, this is different. Yeah, this one. Graph of interaction between treatment and subject on memory. Now this light color line is science subject and dark line is bold line is non-science. And this is part method. This is the association method. Here we have mean 5, 10, 15 and so on. So science group is better than association this non-science group for both the method. Similarly, association group is better than part method for both kind of student. Therefore, there is no interaction. Why? Because there is no mixing of levels. Science is better for non-science at both the levels of method. Similarly, association method is better than part method for both the levels of science subject. Thus, there is no mixing of the two. Therefore, there is no interaction. And by visual inspection of the graph, the lines are exactly parallel. Therefore, there is no interaction. Now I come to another example. This is another example of a graph of interaction of treatment of gender and weight loss. Now we have two methods, two treatments, exercise and diet control. People trying to lose weight, they are advised to exercise and they are advised diet control. Now there are male and female, and this is mean weight loss in a say after the end of treatment. Now what do we see? We see male, the line representing male is slightly up, is quite up rather, not slightly, than the line representing female. That means males have been able to lose more weight than the females, whether they are this treatment group or they belong to this treatment group. No? Similarly, what about the other? Other is the exercise and diet control. The exercise diet control mean is here between these two here, and exercise is between these two here. So this is an example where we have non-significant interaction but a significant main effect, and the second main effect is not significant. We have the effect of gender but not effect of treatment, because treatment has diet control has a high weight loss as well as low weight loss. Exercise too has high weight loss as well as low weight loss. So the mean of these two is almost same, because the slant is very little for these lines. If the slant would have been like this, then there would have been difference between diet control and exercise. Now this is an example where we have significant effect of gender, non-significant effect of treatment, and non-significant interaction. Another way to interpret the interaction is let me tell you, is very simple. Interaction is also known as difference of the difference. This is difference between male and female. Difference in weight loss for male and female for diet control group. This is difference of weight loss between male and female for exercise group. Now, what is the difference between these two differences? 0. The difference between these two differences is 0. Means male lose more weight than female in both diet control as well as exercise treatment groups. Therefore, there is no interaction. I think now it should be clear because the difference of difference is 0. So remember this formula, difference of difference. So interaction, interpreting interaction means interpreting difference of difference. Let us take one or two more examples. Take this example. Now, this is an example of two independent variables are. One is hand orientation. We have left-handers and right-handers players. So left-hander, this line represent left-handers and bold line represent right-handers. And we have two cricketing field. One is batsman, another is bowler. So we want to see whether cricketing field and hand orientation they interact. So here is a case. The graph is intersecting. So by visual inspection, we can straightforward manner declare that there is a significant interaction. Why? Because there is a intersection of these two lines and they intersect at a moderate angle. Angle is also important. So there is a significant interaction. Although this graph is drawn when the test of significance gives significant results. Now to find out how is the interaction, apply the rule, difference of difference. Now here, this is the difference. Means, what does it mean? C is better than B. C, success, it just means success. Success of C is better than B. And here also, what is C? What is C? C is right-hander and bowler. C is a right-handed bowler. C is a right-handed bowler. And here A is a left-hander batsman. So success, who is achieving more success? Who is achieving more success? Right-hander bowler, but left-hander batsman. So merely by this, we can say that there is interaction because this success is not same across all levels. Let us see difference of difference. Here, difference appears to be same, but no, the direction is different. Here it is A. A. What is A? Left-hander. Here it is C. This is right-hander. So right-hander person, right-hander bowler is better than, and right-hander bowler has greater success and left-hander batsman have great success. So there is interaction between the hand orientation and the cricketing field. The difference is, this is plus, this is minus. So plus minus is plus. Plus minus is equal to plus. So this is not 0. This is 5. This is minus 5. So 5 minus 5 is 10. Now, before I take up exercise, let us do this. This is another example, graph of interaction between vehicular speed and drivers drinking. The two variables are, as you might have heard, driving and drinking do not mix. So I have taken this example from this saying. So we have two kind of drivers, one who drive at normal speed, average speed, then another who drive at fast speed, speeding drivers, 80, 90, 100. Then two types of drivers, one who are always drunk while on wheels, and another is who are sober. They do not drink while driving. So this is the graph of mean casualties, casualties in accidents. People make accident, whether you are driving at normal speed or driving at speeding fast speed, whether you are drunk or whether you are sober. No, people are prone to make accidents. Why? Because there are so many reasons for accidents. Maybe physical health of the driver, maybe physical condition of the vehicle, etc., etc. Now, this is the graph of this. This graph shows that drunk drivers, they make more casualties, they cause more casualties than as compared to sober. Similarly, speeding persons, they make more casualties, they cause more casualties than the normal. Speeding people, if they are sober, this is number of casualty. If they are drunk, this is number of casualty. So on an average, this is the number of casualty in between these two, and you take it here. So this is the number of casualty. 25. Now let us take normal. This is number of casualty for sober. This is number of casualty for drunk at normal speed. So this is average. And so there is a difference. This much is the difference between speeding and normal. This much. From here to here. So there seems to be a significant difference. And these two lines, they also intersect. Suppose if I take normal somewhat here at this place, then the line will be extended to this place, and this line will extend to this place. So you will find these two lines may intersect. If they are not intersecting, if they are extended, they will intersect. Therefore, there is an interaction. Now, how to interpret this interaction? So, as I told you, the best way is to find this difference and this difference. So, this difference is not same across the levels of speed. Drinking drivers are causing more casualties than sober drivers, but this is different for different speeds. At speeding, fast driving, this is more rather than compared to the normal speed. There is a significant interaction between drinking and driving. To find out which of the levels of drinking mix with which levels of driving to cause disproportionately high casualties, interactional graph will be studied. It is clear from the inspection of the graph 4 that the drunk drivers who are speeding cause significantly greater casualties than those who drive at normal speed. It is not equal across the levels of speed. This is how the interaction graph is to be interpreted. Is there any question till now? Otherwise, now I'm coming back. Mail and interactional effect. Table 5, hypothetical data for 2 into 2 factorial design this. We have this score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 1, 3, 4, 5. Now from this we have to find cell means. What are the cell means and marginal means? So let us do this exercise. For this cell mean is 3. 5, 4, 9, 3, 12, 14, 15 divided by 5, 3. This is 4, 3, 4 and 4, 3. 3, 4, 4, 3. These are the means because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3 is in the middle. So means are 3, 4, 4 and 4, 3. So I'm entering this. This mean is 3. This mean is 4. This mean is 4. This mean is 3. And the marginal means are, because the sample size is same, therefore we can safely say that mean of the whole mean is 3.5. So it is 3.5, 3.5, 3.5, 3.5. Everywhere 3.5. So you will see that there is no difference in, this is married, unmarried, this is male, female. So there is no difference in married and unmarried as far as adjustment is concerned. There is no difference in male and female teachers as far as adjustment is concerned. So the effect of main factors is not significant. Now let us see the effect of interaction. Now we draw interaction graph. Quickly, this is x-axis, this is y-axis. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this is married, unmarried, and male, female. Let us see. Unmarried, married, unmarried is on x-axis. The 2 for married, the 2 means are 3 and 4. For unmarried, 4 and 3. 3 is male, 4 is female. For married, 3 is male, this 3 is male, and 4 is female. Okay. Similarly, for unmarried, 4 is male. Unmarried, 4 is male. So male is like this, and 3 is female. Now join male, male, female, female. This is male and this is female. So what do you see? Is there an interaction or there is no interaction? Anybody would like to answer? There is interaction or there is no interaction? Dr. Gupta? Hello, Dr. Gupta. Host, please, host. Are you
जी
listening?
सर.
Are all the participants unmuted or muted?
Okay sir. Actually I am in the orientation class
Okay.
for
They
new.
they are unmuted or muted.
I have done from my side. Hello.
तुम्हें ट्यूटोरियल पे नहीं करना है मुझे ना और नहीं करना
Dr. Gupta,
ट्यूटोरियल ट्यूटोरियल
please show them
नहीं बन पाएगा
because nothing is heard.
तो गया था
अगर एक बार मेरे से कुछ गलत
देखिए ये होता है एक साथ सभी ने अपने स्पीकर ऑन कर लिए हैं.
Please,
वाली है
please mute them. Please mute all of them. Yes. Now I am answering myself. See, although these lines are intersecting, but no, but they are not intersecting at a moderate angle. An angle is small. Although from here, the graph here, it appears that angle is quite big, but actually angle is small. Why? Because I have taken on the left
बना के देखो है ना है
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the earlier example, I took this as 5. I took this as 5.
ज्यादा लंबा बना दिया क्यूबॉइड
This as 10 and then 15. So suppose this were 5, then my graph will be like this.
सीधी करो ना स्केल 1 मिनट
Say a graph like this. This is an intersecting graph. Okay, that means because the lines intersect, so at the first sight, people will say that there is this interaction. But no, there is no interaction because this angle is insignificant and these two lines are almost overlap each other. Therefore, actually, there is neither a main effect 1, nor main effect 2, nor main effect, nor significant main effect, interactional effect. That is why we draw graph when there is significant f value for interaction. When f is significant, then only graph is drawn. If f is not significant, we do not draw graph because graph may mislead us. Please remember this. Okay. So intersection does not guarantee interaction. This is what the point I wanted to drive home. So I go back and let us now finish this interaction. This I have shown you how to interpret. Now I come to, it is already 4, I come to assumptions of 2 ANOVA. The assumptions are same: random sample, independence of observation, interval scale, normality, outlier, homogeneity of error variance. Almost same. I will show you how to do homogeneity of error variance here. Then conducting two-way ANOVA using SPSS. So this is my data set. The steps are: first conduct normality check, but then outlier check, then perform ANOVA by following the chart. I will show it, analyze, it is in GLM. Yesterday we did univariate. You give supply dependent variable and fixed factor. Then you get descriptives from option and effect size also, homogeneity of variance, and interpret output, interpret effect size. Now, let me show you how to do it. Then we will see how to interpret it. This is the data set. Now see, there are two variables, independent variables. One is feedback. This is nominal scale variable. Another is personality. Nominal scale variable. Let us see how many levels are there. One is individual group. Feedback is of two types, individual feedback and group feedback. Second is personality, two introverts and extroverts. So this is 2x2 factorial design ANOVA. And the dependent variable is behavior. Behavior is assessed with the help of some tool, and you get interval scale data. So this is behavior data. Now let us see what is the sample size, cell size. How to find out cell size for each group. For this, we proceed like this. Analyze descriptive statistics. Cross tabulation, cross tab. This will tell you. And in row, you have feedback, and in column, you have personality. This is the table we get. So feedback into personality cross tabulation. This is 2x2 tabulation. Introvert, extrovert, individual group, 6, 6, 6, 6. So this is 2x2 factorial design ANOVA of equal cell size 6. Total number of subject is 24. Feedback, 2 groups with 12 each. This is just for sake of illustration. We have very small sample. Now, this is how we check whether it is equal cell size or unequal cell size. Now, we go back to analyze. Compare means is up to one way ANOVA, then general linear model, GLM, univariate, and then supply dependent variable, behavior, fixed factors. Now we have two independent variables, feedback and personality. Now options. Options have descriptive statistics, homogeneity test, estimate of effect size. These are the three things we require. And then let us first see whether the 3 F values are significant or not. That will decide whether we should follow up or not. So we are conducting main ANOVA, general test for ANOVA. These are the descriptive statistics. Okay. This is feedback, individual, personality, introvert, extrovert, and then total. So this is individual feedback total. This is group, introvert, extrovert. Personality should be personality, introvert, extrovert, and total. Total introvert, extrovert, yeah, this is total. And overall total. Now this is Levin's test for equality of error variance. So we have to check homogeneity of variance. So this is based on mean. The p-value is 0.322. It is greater than 0.05, therefore not significant. Therefore, we can assume that error variances are equal. Now come to the main ANOVA test. Now here we have, I told you in slide that there are feedback, source of variation is feedback, personality, feedback into personality, error, and total. Finish. Now, these two lines we do not require, but let them remain there. You need not edit them. So feedback we will interpret because there are two main effects, effect of feedback and effect of personality. So we will interpret these two as well as the interactional effect. So the F value is here, F. F for feedback is 0.053. So first we interpret F for feedback. This is 0.053. Okay. And its significance value is 0.820, which is greater than 0.05, therefore not significant. Therefore, feedback has no significant effect on influence on behavior. Similarly, personality, the F value is 1.914 and significance is 0.182. It is again greater than 0.05 alpha level. P value is greater than alpha value. Therefore, this is also not significant. Therefore, the mean difference in behavior is mean scores of behavior of introvert and extrovert, they do not differ significantly. Now come to the interaction. Feedback into personality. Now there is an significant interaction because F value is 27.521 and the significance value is 0.000, which is very small, less than 0.01. Therefore, it is significant. Therefore, there is a significant effect of feedback and personality on behavior. And the effect size is 0.579. This is partial eta squared. And this amounts to 57.9% effect of the interaction on behavior. So there is significant interaction of the size by 57.9%. And since this interaction is significant, we need to follow it up to see which level of personality mixes with which level of feedback to have better behavior, high score of behavior. So we will draw graph. So analyze general linear model, univariate, and we have plot. In case interaction is significant, then we plot the graph. So we are plotting the graph. Otherwise, we would not have plotted the graph had there been no significant effect of interaction. That was just for teaching you the meaning of interaction. Now, feedback, what do you want to have on horizontal axis? Say feedback is on horizontal axis, personality is separate lines. And add. So this gives a feedback into personality. Feedback star is multiplication, and we continue. Okay. this profile plot. This is plotting. Now you can see this graph. This is individual feedback group. People who have been given individually, feedback has been given individually, feedback has been given in group. And we want to see whether behavior has improved or not. This is introvert, blue. Blue line is introvert and this line is extrovert. So this is simplest form of the interaction graph. It is very easy to interpret because this is symmetric sort of interaction. Here, extrovert who have been given group feedback, they have performed well on behavior, whereas those who are introverts and they are given individual feedback, they have performed better on behavior. So let me go back to the presentation and see how this is written. I have discussed it. Now it is a matter of writing the same thing. Now this is first output. Between subject factors by feedback and personality. Feedback 1, 2, individual group 12, 12, personality in 1, 2, introvert, extrovert. Now descriptive statistics, which I discussed earlier. And this is Levin's test of equality of variance. This is the result of 2 by 2 factorial design ANOVA. This line in bold, rows in bold. We are interpreting these three rows. Rest we are ignoring. They do not concern us. Now interpretation of effect of feedback on behavior. This is how the interpretation is written. First is effect of feedback on behavior. Now the research question was to study the effect of feedback, and then personality and their interaction on behavior of students. The first question is effect of feedback on behavior. As observed from table 10, the F value is this much, whose significance value with the degree of freedom 120 is 0.820. First of all, state all these three things in this order: F value, then degree of freedom, then significance value. Now compare it with alpha. This p-value is greater than 0.05, thus not significant at 0.05 level of significance. Now make a decision about null hypothesis. Null hypothesis, there is no significant difference in the mean scores of behavior of respondents with individual and group feedback is not rejected. Therefore, feedback doesn't make any difference. Hence, it can be concluded that feedback has no significant effect on behavior of the student. Further, the effect size, you need not interpret effect size in this case because there is no significant difference. But this effect size is only 0.3%. Very small, negligible. Now, interpretation of the effect of personality on behavior. Similarly, effect of personality on behavior, we, as observed from table 10, F value for feedback is this much. No. Degree of freedom, p-value, the p-value is greater than 0.05. Therefore, null hypothesis is rejected. Hence, it can be concluded personality has no significant effect, and it is 8.7% effect on behavior, although this is not significant. Now, interpretation of interaction effect. As observed from table 10, the F value for feedback is 27.521, whose significance value with DF 120 is 0.000. This p-value is less than 0.01, thus significant at 0.01 level of significance. In the light of this, the null hypothesis. Now, this null hypothesis does not contain any mean. There is no significant effect of interaction of feedback and personality on the behavior of students is rejected. Hence, it can be concluded that there is a significant interactional effect of feedback and personality on behavior of the students. Further, to find out the pattern of interaction of feedback and personality on behavior, the interactional graph will be studied. Now we will interpret the graph. Okay, drawing interaction graph in SPSS. Graph is drawn only if interactional effect is significant. Intersecting on converging lines, angle should not be very small, indicate significant interaction. Intersecting or converging, they are converging, but they do not intersect. If extended, they will intersect. But angle should be, it should not be very small. If it is very small, then they do not indicate significant interaction. And this is the flow diagram. We have to use here plot. Univariate profile में plot, horizontal axis we give feedback, and this I have shown you. Graph of interaction of feedback and personality on behavior. An observation of the graph 5 depicting interaction effect of feedback and personality on the behavior of students shows that the introverts treated with individual feedback and the extroverts treated with group feedback perform better on behavior. Further, table 10 shows the effect size measured to be 0.579. It means that the interaction of the feedback and personality has 57.9% effect on the behavior of the student. So this is how you interpret. Now I come to post-significance test. This was the example. This was the example when there was no significant main effect. Both the main effects were not significant. Even if they were significant, because the levels were just 2. So we could not have required following up with post-significant test because the levels were only 2. We could simply have taken the mean into consideration and written the interpretation. Now, post-significant means tests are done when there are significant main effects. This is not done for interactional effect, this is done for main effect. Point number 1. And the main effect should be significant. Then secondly, main effect should have more than 2 levels. So again, the same flow chart. If F value is significant, then we have either plant test or post hoc test pairwise comparison. If it is not significant, there is no need to follow up. No follow-up tests are required. Or if there are 2 levels, then also there are no follow-up tests required. Now conducting plant contrast. This is the data set which I will be using, but let me see. Contrast test performed if F for a factor is significant. Contrast conducted if factor levels are 3 or more, taking the following route. This is the contrast. Choose simple from the top. This I will show you. Okay, now I come to the data. Data set. Where is the data set? Okay, this one. Let us have a look at the data. We have 3 variables here. 3 columns means 3 variables. And sample size is, overall sample size is 48. One independent variable is institution. institution has 4 levels. One is department, university department. Second is constituent college. Some universities have constituent colleges. Other have affiliated colleges. Department, constituent college, government college, and private college. These are affiliated colleges: government affiliated college, private affiliated college. So 4 types of institutions are there: departments in a university, constituent college, which are a part of the university, managed by the university, government college managed by the government, and private college managed by private individuals or trust. Okay. And then we have cycle of assessment. This is related to NAAC assessment. So first cycle of assessment, second cycle of assessment, third cycle or third or higher cycle. Like if you are applying for accreditation for the first time, you are in the first cycle. If you are applying for second time for the 5 years ago, you also had a grade, then you are in the second cycle. Then you are in the third or higher cycle. And this is GPA, grade point average. So institutions are given grade point average by the NAAC. And there are 4 types of institutions and 3 types of cycles. So this is two-way ANOVA. We want to study the effect of institution on grade point average, effect of cycle on the grade point average, and is there any interaction between the institution and cycle. Interactional effect of institution and cycle on grade point average. So this is how, see, this is how data is entered. First we enter institution. So there are 12 institutions of type 1 departments. Okay, in this these 4 are first cycle. 4 institutions which are in the first cycle, 4 in the second cycle, and 4 in the third cycle. Similarly, next 12, second type of institution, 12. Then 4 each, 1, 2, 3. So if we want to view the labels, see value label. So department first cycle, department first cycle, department first cycle, department first cycle, department second cycle, department second cycle, department second cycle, department third cycle, department third cycle, constituent first, constituent second, then similarly next and then next. Department over in first cycle, their GPA is 3.70, 2.90, 3.10, and second cycle 3.3, third cycle this one. So this is how the data is entered. In every kind of institution, there will be every kind of cycle. This is the meaning of factorial design. If you want to check this sample size, equal cell size, so descriptive cross tab. Institution versus cycle cross tabulation. You will get this. Institution versus cycle 444, 444, 444, 444, 16, 16, 16, 12, 12, 12, 12. So this is an example of two-way ANOVA. This is 3/4 ANOVA of equal cell size. Now let us proceed with this. First of all, we have seen that this is a two-way ANOVA of equal cell size. Now we analyze general linear model. Put this in fixed factor, grade point average in dependent, and under option we have homogeneity, descriptive, and estimate of effect size. Now let us check whether all these three are significant or non-significant. They need to be followed up or there is no need to follow up. Let us say. So this is descriptive statistics. We will not read it right now. This is Levin's test of error variance. The significance value is greater than 0.05. Therefore, assumption holds. Now, this is main ANOVA. And we interpret institution, cycle, and their interaction, these three lines. So, institution, for institution, F value is 20.343. So, naturally, I have taken such an example where main factor is significant. So, the effect of institution on CGPA is significant. Why? Because its p value is 0.000. But the second main effect, cycle, is not significant. So whether first cycle, second cycle doesn't make difference, and there is no interaction between cycle and interaction. So we need to follow up the institution. Now there are two ways. One is conducting the contrast test. The other is conducting all the tests, permissible tests. So first I deal with contrast test. So analyze general linear model, univariate, and then contrast. Now contrast tests here are a bit different. You need not give coefficient to contrast and mention contrast 1, contrast 2, contrast 3, contrast 4, etc. But it asks you, do you want contrast for institution or for cycle? So the answer is we want contrast for the institution. Hello? Is there any question? Please ask. Please ask.
एक्चुअली किसी ने ओपन कर लिया था अपना माइक. नो एनी क्वेश्चन सर. हेलो. हेलो. Sir, you have to unmute yourself. Sir, you have to unmute yourself. Sir, we are not listening your voice.
Now you are listening.
Yes, we are listening.
Okay, so there might be some internet problem. Now you are listening. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I proceed. Say we have two factors. One is institution, other is cycle. So this dialogue box asks whether you want contrast test for institution or cycle. So we want contrast test for institution. So we select institution. And here change contrast is none of the contrast. So we change it to simple contrast. And then here we find category last. Now I want to compare the first department with every three, not private with every three. I want to compare department with every three. I change this to first category. Change, continue, and okay. Now I get like this. This is contrast result. It is known as K matrix, contrast result. Contrast result. This is institutional type, simple contrast. Level 2 versus level 1, level 3 versus level 1, level 4 versus level 1. Level 1 is the reference category. I am comparing every institution with department. Okay, I feel that every institution should be compared with the department. So this level 2 versus level 1 is first contrast. Now, is there any significant difference between the department and the second? What was the second one? Second one, level 2. First was the department, second was constituent college. So level 2 is constituent college, level 3 is government college, level 4 is private college, level 1 is department. That means I am comparing constituent college with department. So the contrast is minus 0.392, means the CGPA of constituent college is less than the CGPA of the department. Now this is the significance value, 0.008. This is less than 0.01. Therefore, it is significant. Thus, this contrast is significant. That is, level 1 college institution is significantly at higher level, higher grade, higher GPA than the level 2. This is how level 1 and level 2 have been compared. Similarly, now level 3 and level 1, the contrast value is minus. Level 3 is less than level 1, but its value again is significant. This is also significant. Therefore, the university teaching department is having significantly higher CGPA, GPA, grade point average, than this government college. And lastly, this is also significant. So this comes out to be that department is having significantly higher GPA, grade point average, than either the private college or the government college or this. In contrast test, you have one reference institution, one reference category, then you can compare every other group with that reference category. Only this much is possible. If you want all the comparisons, then go to post hoc test. But if you plan that this is sufficient, then you have this contrast test. So let me go back and see how this is written. See, one thing you can note. This is the overall result of the contrast test, and here this is the value of the contrast. F value is 20.343, and partial eta square is 62.9. These values tally with the values of this main table. Institution 20.343 and 0.629, 0.000. So these values, they are tallying perfectly with this. Therefore, we are not interpreting that table. Now, I go back to the presentation. Then we will come back to see post-test. This is result of two-way ANOVA, which we have seen. This is contrast test result main. So, okay, I have included this table also. This is contrast test K matrix. Level 2 versus level 1, level 3 versus level 1, level 4 versus level 1. And interpretation of the contrast test. Table 11 shows F value for contrast to be 20.343 with significance value of 0.00. which is less than 0.01. Thus, it is significant at 0.01 level of significance. Therefore, the null hypothesis that there is no significant difference in the mean score of GPA of the compared groups is rejected. The results of the individual contrast tests have been presented in table 12 to 14. To recall, the 4 levels of the factor institutions are university department, constituent college, government affiliated college, and private affiliated college. Table 12 compares the mean GPA of a constituent college level 2 with that of a university department level 1. The difference of 0.392 in the mean score of GPA is significant at 0.01 level of significance, because P is 0.008 and this is less than 0.01. Thus, a university department obtains a significantly higher GPA than a constituent college. In the same way, results of table 13 and 14 can be interpreted. Now, I am finished with this, but before I take up testing exercise, let me show you how to conduct post-test. Although post-tests are almost similar, totally similar to one-way ANOVA. Now going back to data set to conduct the post hoc test. This is the same data which I use for contrast test. I'm now conducting this post hoc test. So analyze general linear model, univariate, institution type, cycle of assessment, grade point average. And this is post hoc test, post hoc. So now this is univariate post hoc multiple comparison for observed mean. Post hoc test 4. So these are the two factors. You want post hoc test for institution or cycle. We want post hoc test for institution because cycle F value was not significant. So post hoc test for institution. Now again same, you have the same. Equality of variance not assumed, equality of variance not assumed. So select Tuckey or Bonferroni. Some people they select CIDAC. Tuckey test. Okay. So that is why I did not make any slide for this, because this we have already done. I just wanted to show where you can find it. So these are the multiple comparisons now. These are post hoc tests. Now this compares every college with every other college. So as usual, we have double of the tests, six tests having positive differences and 6 tests having negative differences. Total tests are 12. Because there are 4 groups. So 4 groups have 6 group pairwise comparisons. 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 2, 3, 2, 4, 3, 4. So this takes double. So we focus only on the positive or the negative. So department constituent college 0.3197, department government college. So you select the positive ones, I minus j, department constituent college, positive. This is significant. So because this is less than 0.05, significant. Therefore, departments has significantly higher GPA than the constituent college. Now come to department and government college. 0.000, yes, it is also significant. So department has GPA greater than government college. And for private college also, yes. So 3. Then 4th one is this one, constituent college and government college. This is positive. So the value is this 0.032. So constituent college is better than government college as far as GPA is concerned because this is significant. Then next positive is this one, constituent and private. This is 0.001. This is also significant, and therefore constituent college is better than private college or as far as GPA is concerned. Next is government college and private college. Now there is no difference in government college and private college in GPA because this one significant value is 0.448. So mind it, there is only one pair where the difference is not significant. In the remaining pairs, 5 pairs, the difference is significant. Now, this can also be interpreted using this homogeneous subset table. This is more handy way, more intelligent way to conclude the same thing. Now, this gives you such groups which are not having any significant difference in their mean GPA. And these such groups are private college and government college. See, this GPA is 1.9917, 2.2000. There is no significant difference between these two. But this is the only one. Now from this, you have to infer which groups differ significantly. Now you can see private college and constituent college. They differ significantly. Private college and this department, they differ significantly. Government college and constituent college, they differ significantly. Government college and department, they differ significantly. And then constituent college and department, they differ significantly. So 5 pairs, there is a significant difference. There is just one pair where there is no significant difference, and that is private and government college. So same result which was arrived at through this post-hoc test pairwise comparison has been raised through this homogeneous subset. So we can interpret either of these. You need not interpret both of them. It is for the sake of explaining that I am taking both of them. Now only one point remains. Okay, let me finish that also because I have time. I thought I may not be able to find time to do. And that is we come to the end. Now one point that I missed here is the two-way ANOVA of unequal cell size. ANOVA, two-way ANOVA may be of equal cell size or may be of unequal cell size. Equal cell size ANOVA, sometimes they are called balanced ANOVA, two-way ANOVA balanced. And unequal cell size, they are called unbalanced ANOVA. Now, in a case of unbalanced ANOVA, there are a few changes. Rest of the procedure remains same. And the procedure, the changes are, let me go back to one of the slides to show you what is the difference between balanced and unbalanced ANOVA. Now let us come to this example. This is 2x2 factorial design ANOVA balanced. Why? Because the number of subjects in each cell is 5. Suppose it so happens, and normally this happens, that these sample sizes are not same. They are different. Here we have 5, here we have 5, 5, 5, but in actuality, we may have these different sample sizes. For example, suppose I add here 9, 10, 12, 14. Okay. And I delete, say, 7, 8 from here. So sample size here is 5. And in this cell, 5 and 4, 9. In this cell, 5. In this cell, 3. So this becomes a two-way ANOVA of unequal sample size. Okay. Now, in this case, the procedure to be followed is known as unweighted mean analysis. We call it unweighted mean analysis. Unweighted mean analysis. What does it mean? Now, these means, these earlier means 8.5 and 9.5, they are weighted means. Weighted mean means they have been calculated by considering the sample size of each cell, by considering every individual, every score. So all these scores have been summed up, totaled, and then divided by 10. All these scores have been summed up and divided by 10. So this is weighted mean. Weighted mean takes into consideration each and every score. But when the sample size is not equal, then we do not use weighted mean, but we use unweighted means. Unweighted means are a bit different from weighted means, but in case of balanced designs, unweighted mean and weighted means are same. Now let us see what are unweighted means. Unweighted means are, this is the mean of this cell 8. Okay. Now this is the mean of, suppose mean of this is now 10. Suppose I have not calculated. 10. Mean of this is 10. Mean of this is again 10. Right? This is 9, 10, 11. Mean is 10. This is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now these marginal means, the rows in the margin, that is row mean or column mean, they are calculated differently. Now this mean will be calculated as an average of 8 and 10. 10 plus 8, 10 plus 8, 18, mean is 9. This is known as unweighted mean, or in SPSS it is called estimated marginal mean. Estimated EMM, estimated marginal mean. SPSS will give you EMM, unweighted mean, by this name. So the unweighted mean is 9. Now suppose I want to calculate the actual mean. The actual mean will be the total of this is 40. Now total of this becomes 45 plus 9, 54, 64, 74, 76, 80, 90. 90 divided by 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 19 divided by 14. 19 divided by 14 is not 9, is different from 9. So unweighted means are in fact mean of the cells, average of the cells, cell means. So this 9 is average of these two cell means. This 10 is 10 is average of these two cell means, not actual mean. This 10 is average of this. This is 10, this is 10, average is 10. This is 8, this is 10, average is 9. This is 8, this is 10, average is 9. Average is 9. This is 10, this is 10, average is 10. So in unbalanced ANOVA, we are using not actual means, not weighted means, not real means, but estimated means. These means have been estimated on the basis of cell means. And this is one of the difference. Second difference is that in unbalanced ANOVA, the sum of factor 1 SS plus factor 2 SS plus interaction plus error does not equal to total. These are the two differences. Remaining things are same. Now I will show you how to find EMM in how to show EMM in SPSS. Let me show you. So I go back to the data. Any data. Let me have. This is the data. I'm going back to this data. So we saw that it was a balanced design ANOVA. Now I am making it unbalanced by adding a few scores here: 39, 34, 30, 45, 56, 44, and this is 2. We have feedback 2, 2, 2, 1. And this is 1, 1, 1, 1. Let us see whether this becomes unbalanced or not. The descriptive statistics, cross tabulation, feedback, personality. Okay. So the sample size becomes 7, 9, 6, 6. It becomes a little unbalanced. Sample size is not equal. Now, let us see how to proceed in this case. General linear model, behavior, feedback, personality. Here you find EM means. This is estimated marginal mean. And you need estimated marginal mean for the main effects. Main effect, because it is for marginal sums. Compare main effect, but since there is no main effect having more than 3, therefore there is no sense in comparing the main effect. So continue and okay, just to show you what is meaning of estimated marginal mean. See, this is estimated marginal mean, unweighted mean. Individual 36.952, group 39 point this. For personality, introvert, extrovert. You can also compare it with descriptive, unweighted. These are unweighted mean. You can compare these means with weighted means also. Analyze GLM, univariate. Now descriptives you have here. Descriptive. Descriptive will give you weighted means. Okay. So when we, in the end, we say that personality has a significant effect, therefore the mean behavior scores of introvert and extrovert, they do differ significantly, then we have to refer to the mean, which group has higher mean. In case of unbalanced, we will use the estimated marginal mean, not the weighted mean. We will say that unweighted means are like this. So these are the descriptives. For individual feedback, 37.38. For group feedback, 38. For individual feedback, we are comparing these two. For individual feedback, we have 36.952. For group, we have 39.306. There is a difference between these two. For group, descriptive is 38. So there is a difference. When we are conducting unbalanced ANOVA, then we will refer to these estimated marginal means, not the actual or weighted means. That is the only difference. And in the table of ANOVA, we will omit this total. Total we shall omit, because otherwise people will think that this is not coming to the total, because this total SS feedback plus SS personality plus SS interaction plus error does not add up to the total. Therefore, we omit this. These are the two differences. It is 4:55 now. I have a few practice exercises. This is one. Interpret the interactional effect in the graph below. This is you have to write it. I have explained it. Hand orientation, this is the same graph. Second one is take two independent variables, namely stage of education with 3 levels, upper primary, secondary and senior secondary, and residence with 3 levels, rural, urban, rural, semi-urban and urban. The dependent variable is emotional maturity of student. Formulate research objective and corresponding null hypothesis. These are the two exercises which you can do at home. Now, any question on the presentation? Now unmute, sir. Unmute all. Dr. Gupta. Dr. Gupta, please unmute all.
Hello.
Hello, Dr. Gupta.
Yes, sir.
Please unmute all so that if anyone has question, he or she is able to ask.
Sir, I have done from my side, and I am doing again. I have done.
Please be loud. You are not audible.
Hello.
Yes, please.
If anyone has question, please raise here. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself and ask directly with our resource person. Hello.
Yes, please.
I am looking three questions, messages in chat. Thank you, sir, for the informative session. Thank you so much. Learning so many new concepts. Thank you so much, sir. So many things I learned.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
These are three guys here: Akhtar Gauri, Divya Joshi, Suranjan Kumar, and Amit Dev. Okay, but I'm not looking a single question. Yes, yes,
Sir,
Kishore.
I have one question.
Please
Uh,
speak loudly.
yes, yes. Sir, in case of estimated marginal means, there is need for doing the post hoc test.
Estimated marginal means yes, definitely. Definitely.
How we
Because
can perform post hoc test or contrast test in case of
both in unbalanced both. Whenever you need means, no, then you will refer to the unweighted means in case of unbalanced design. Whenever you have to quote, you have to refer, you have to give means, then you will
yes,
give
yes.
unweighted means.
Okay. Otherwise, we can continue with the original means, actual means.
No, no, when you are
Hello.
reporting, when you are writing, you should write because the design is unbalanced design. Therefore,
Yes,
the
yes, yes.
unweighted means analysis will be performed. And the unweighted mean for this is higher than this. You will speak like this. You will say like,
But sir, hello.
uh,
Sorry, sir. Sorry to interrupt you. But while doing a post hoc test or contrast, we are comparing two means.
who says
Yes.
in an unbalanced design, we are using unweighted means, not real means.
So how to perform post hoc test of
Same,
unweighted?
same, same. The system is doing that post hoc test for the unweighted means. That is the difference, not the real means.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay.
Okay, okay. Any other question, please?
Kishore ji, any other question?
No, sir.
Okay
I am
then.
satisfied.
Okay.
Okay then. Goodbye for the day. Tomorrow we
Many,
meet.
many thanks to you, sir. We
Okay,
will
sir.
meet
Thank you,
again
sir.
at the same time. Many, many thanks to all learners.
Thank you. Thank you.